A 100K corporate offer is not about stacking deliverables. It's not about how many workshops, calls, or sessions you include. It's about positioning your expertise in a market that already spends millions of dollars hiring experts just like you. Here's what I want you to know up front. By the end of this video, you'll be able to see exactly where your expertise fits, who would actually pay for it, and why the offer itself is built inside the conversation and not the pitch. And I'm going to do a deep dive on exactly what I mean by that. You want to stay with me until the end because I've got 3 key points that are absolutely going to blow your mind and a bonus piece that most people miss. It's the major difference between potentially getting a contract here and there and having a system that creates repeatable corporate contracts without referrals or insider connections. So let's dive in. The first step to building and selling a 100K offer is not deciding what to include or even what to sell. It's about finding the place where organizations already buy what you have to offer. Most people get this backwards. They start with, what are companies looking for and how can I get them interested in me? But let me let you in on an insider secret. Corporate buyers don't buy ideas. They buy solutions to defined problems that they have already budgeted for months or even a year in advance. Here's how I want you to think about this. Companies pay for 2 things: to make more money or save more money. Bottom line, whatever it is that you offer has to fall into one of those buckets at the top level. When we break this down, corporate clients are not just the ones that are your Apples, your Amazons, and the ones that probably come to your mind immediately. Another insider tip, companies that you may not even know of right now actively have budgets and are looking for experts like you. You just need to know how to find them. But it's not just corporations. There are 4 arenas in which you could position yourself to get contracts. There is the traditional for-profit lane, which are these Fortune 500 brands or even smaller brands. There are nonprofits who have budgets to bring in outside experts to do training, workshops, etc. Universities and colleges, and then K-12 and public education institutions. These are all arenas that your expertise could be of value in. Now, typically, your expertise will fall within 1 or 2 of these buckets. This is where you get started to understand what exactly they pay for, what they budget for, and how you can position your expertise. When you get this right, clarity starts to unlock the big money. The question is no longer who needs my help, and the question becomes, where does my expertise already align with how these specific organizations spend money today? For example, leadership development, burnout, strategy, communication, operations. These are not new arenas. These are items that already have line items attached to them, departments, and vendors who are already providing these services. At this point, your job is to identify which arena has the problem that you solve, has the budget to solve it, and already pays people to do what you do. You're not recreating the wheel. You're aligning with the system and process that is already running like a well-oiled machine. This is why someone can charge $3,000 in one market like one-on-one or group coaching and $30,000 in the corporate market without changing their expertise at all. Here's something that most people don't realize. Public institutions and nonprofits typically post their budgets on their website, so it's public information and you can understand what they spend on each line item. Now with corporations, it's a bit trickier to understand what they typically spend, which is why I created this free gift for you called the Corporate Offer Blueprint, where I'm going to break down some of these realistic ranges and what experts like you can expect to charge in corporate markets. But I'm going to share with you more about that later, so make sure you stay tuned for that piece. The takeaway here is you don't need more credentials. You don't need more insider connections. You need market and value alignment, and that's what this step is all about. Once you understand where your value fits, this next step is where most people make the biggest mistake. They think the offer comes before the conversation. In the corporate world, the discovery call is where the offer is actually created. This is not your standard sales call. This is a diagnostic where you're uncovering the true problems in an organization and figuring out how to solve the greater issue and do that in steps that make sense to the buyer on the other end. Most people think you need to have the perfect pitch. That is wrong. At this stage, your goal is not to pitch a package. Your goal is to uncover the larger business problem that led them to want to have a conversation with you in the first place. This is where the right questions matter. Instead of asking how many workshops or how many sessions, you're You're asking thought-provoking questions like, what's going on internally that led you to look for support with this right now? What is it costing the organization if this continues? What have you already tried? What does success look like in the next 18 to 12 months from now? When you ask these questions, there are a few magical things that happen. First, the client starts connecting the dots that they weren't able to fully articulate from the onset. Second, the scope of work naturally expands. And third, you boost your credibility in that conversation as a thought partner, as a strategic partner versus another person just trying to close a sale. And when you do that, you become a repeat partner with these corporations and not just a person to come in to do a one-time workshop. You can easily turn this conversation into a long-term engagement without pressure, without upselling or forcing anything. The larger offer becomes obvious because the greater problem becomes clear. In this last step, let's talk about what a 100K offer actually looks like, because this is where people assume there's only one formula, but I'm here to tell you there isn't. A 100K offer might include a series of workshops, executive coaching, ongoing consulting or advisory support, facilitated sessions, strategic initiatives, or a combination of these things over time. Let me give you a real-world example using one of my clients, Melissa, who's a spiritual business coach. She worked one-on-one and with group clients to help them design and scale their businesses using their intuition and creative abilities. Now, she thought there was no way she could work with corporations because she was the furthest thing from buttoned up suit and tie and all of that, even though she did have a law background. But in her business, she had created this brand that seemed so far away from corporations. However, when we dialed in her value and expertise, we were able to find this pocket of creative marketing that were literally salivating over her offers and wanting her to come in and do different experiential sessions with their corporate leaders. Through this one single contact, she was able to open up hundreds of thousands of dollars of opportunity for conferences, events where people who were already looking and budgeting for experts were ready to hire her and bring her in specifically because she stayed in her lane. This is what I was talking about earlier. Keeping your expertise intact in one arena could be at this price point, maybe $3,000, $5,000, or even $10,000. But if you take that same expertise and value and position it with the folks who are already looking and budgeting for it in corporations, that could easily turn into a $100,000 deal doing the same things that you're already doing with your group and one-on-one clients. And that is what Melissa unlocked through one strategic contact. This is what can happen for you when your expertise clicks into the right context. You're no longer convincing or just only looking for smaller one-on-one clients. You're now in a space where the same solution is highly valuable and it already makes sense for the buyers who budget for this every single quarter and every year. Remember, I told you I had a bonus tip. It has arrived. So here's the thing. Most people come into these conversations thinking they just need to have one offer that they're presenting. But insider secret, here's the game changer that's going to blow up your business this year with corporate contracts in the best way. Don't just present one number. When you go into a conversation to present a proposal or your offer, you should have at least 3 tiers. The first tier is going to be that comprehensive solution. When you've asked those questions, you've gotten the responses, and you're seeing what the larger problem in the organization is, that first tier should be the all-inclusive package that's solving the problem. Then you want to have 2 smaller tiers in case of budgeting or other situations in the organization. You want to have a pathway that they can get started with you now and then expand into the larger engagement at a later point. This is what I call first date offers, and I write about this in my book, Get Corporate Clients Now. But this is the game changer that most people don't know to create for themselves, so they have a way into the organization to build out these repeatable and long-term engagements. You don't want to miss this step. As you are creating these tiers, I want you to remember this. You are not discounting or devaluing your expertise. You are creating pathways and relationships that lead to long-term engagements. At this point, I want to be clear about what I actually do. I don't teach you how to become an expert, and I don't build your consulting skill set for you. What I do is help you identify where your value fits, position it inside of real corporate markets, get you into the right conversations, and help you build offers inside of those conversations in a way that closes corporate deals for you on repeat. If you already know and have consistently delivered real results, the model that I shared with you today will work for you. The question that's probably circling in your mind right now is, this sounds great. I'm excited about what corporate opportunities could look like for me, but what does this look like for someone with my experience in my industry and in my background? And guess what? That is why I created the Corporate Offer Blueprint. This is where I'm going to do a deep dive on 25 different ways that experts like you can work with organizations. I'm going to be sharing the most common services that companies pay for, the industries that pay more, and realistic pricing ranges so you can see what is possible for you. And best of all, this is my gift to you, so you can grab it completely free by clicking the link in the description. And once you grab that and see where your expertise fits, the next step is going to be very clear for you. Now, if you don't want this to end, go ahead and click this next video for a deeper dive on how you can create more contracts in your business in 2026 and beyond. I can't wait to see you there.